I'm Nalita.
And I'm Fiona, and this is Peer Conversations.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking about Jacob, which we're going through chapters 29 to 31.
Yes.
This week on Peer Conversation, Episode 7, Jacob. We're taking a look at Genesis chapter 29 to 31. This week's topics takes a look into the common marital traditions of the Old Testament, Jacob and Laban's interesting father-in-law, son-in-law relationship, and the betrayal that led Jacob to flee. Jacob trusted the Lord's direction and made his way back to the land of his fathers, knowing that he, the Lord, would be with him. Now here are Lita and Fiona to help you break down the book of Genesis.
So, Jacob travels to Padanaram, or arrives in Padanaram, is the first, did I say that right? Yeah, or whatever, is the first, section of this chapter. And so, he travels to Padanaram, where he entered the land. He saw a well. There was a flock of sheep there at the well, which means there was a shepherd. And the tradition of watering the sheep was that the shepherds had to wait till all the shepherds from around them were there before they could take the stone off the well to water their sheep. And so while he was there, he was waiting and just struck up conversation with the shepherd.
And he was asking the shepherd about his uncle Laban. And Laban has two daughters, Rachel and Leah. And Rachel is known to be very beautiful. And back then in the Old Testament, it was customary to marry your cousin or whatever, just because there wasn't a lot of people on the earth yet, so you needed to populate the earth. And that's kind of why we don't do it anymore, because we have
a lot of people.
We have a lot of people. You don't need to do that anymore. So, but basically, he saw Rachel walking down, and he was so excited. He literally ran up to this woman he has never met in his entire life and literally just starts crying.
He kissed her and starts weeping. He full on, and then wept.
Literally went down on his knees hugging this woman, crying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jacob was excited that he saw and quickly moved the watering well. So he moved the rock off the well so that she could get water first, even though that wasn't what they were supposed to do. And then, kissed Rachel and wept. It's very, the Old Testament, the whole Bible is strange.
I was going to say. Especially Old Testament. It's very
different from the life that we know.
It is.
But I guess we should learn about that life. Anyways, Rachel brought Jacob back to her dad because, the whole goal was that Jacob was going to go work for Laban. Mm-hmm. And so he started staying with Laban, and Laban asked what his wage would be, and Jacob said, "I'll work for you for 7 years for your youngest daughter, Rachel."
And back then, it was very, how do we say it?
Untraditional to marry off your second born before your first.
Yeah. So Rachel, as we said, was younger than her older sister Leah.
I don't know if we said that. Leah's the older sister.
Well, if we didn't say it, we said it now. So, like Fiona said, it was very untraditional to marry off your youngest daughter before your older daughter. So Jacob works the 7 years for Laban. We kind of went over this a couple episodes ago, but we messed up a bit. But this is the correct version.
Yes.
But we were speaking about Abraham's family, where we got really confused.
It's because we didn't fact check. Nalita had written something that wasn't accurate, and so we both were contradicting each other. We were trying to figure out what was going on.
I accidentally read the wrong chapter.
So yeah. Anyway,
we're going to move past that.
Yeah.
So, he works the 7 years for Laban to marry Rachel. And they had the wedding. Jacob was very happy. But then, in the morning, after his wedding night, he noticed that he married Leah and not Rachel.
Because Laban did not want him to marry his younger daughter before
Leah was married off.
Which is so weird, but you know what?
What? Okay.
whatever.
This causes a lot of issues later, but we'll get to that when it comes.
So, yeah, Jacob was not happy as he loved Rachel. Like, the whole point, he literally not only loved her for, like, her looks, but loved her for her personality. Because over that 7 years, he got to know who Rachel was. And so he fell in love with her. And when he woke up to Leah, was not happy at all.
Yeah, so he went to Laban, and he's like,
I want to marry Rachel. Why'd you make me marry Leah?
I wanted to marry your other daughter. I thought maybe there was like a miscommunication, or I don't know.
And so, yeah, Laban would not let him marry Rachel off on a whim. So he said, finish the bridal week with Leah. Then we will give you the younger one also in return for another 7 years. So he had to work another 7 years for Rachel and marry Leah.
So he was married to both sisters, which, as you can imagine, caused some issues.
Yeah. And so now the next part is Jacob's children. So the Lord saw that Leah was unloved. She was very unloved.
Yeah.
And so he gave her the ability to bear children. And she bore her first son, Reuben. And, this is so sad. She thought that because of she had given him a child, he would love her. It's not the case.
I feel really bad for Leah because, it was kind of really, Laban, I don't know what he was thinking because Jacob loved Rachel, so he obviously put more love and thought into her instead of Leah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unfair to Leah at this point.
Yeah, Rachel was his chosen wife. Leah was the one he was forced upon. Like, also, her father really screwed her up because he could have found her someone else who would actually love her, but he gave her to the person who loved her sister.
So that was messed up on Laban's part. So she had her first child, Reuben, and every time she got pregnant, she thought, Jacob must love me now, which is so sad.
So sad.
And
so she had 4 at this. So she's had 4 kids.
So Reuben, Simeon,
Levi, and Judah. And then, and then Rachel was very jealous that was very jealous, and they fought over the fact that she couldn't have children. And so Rachel and Leah had a fight, which never ends up good in the Bible. You know, fights usually cause a lot of turmoil in families.
So Rachel and Leah fought because Jacob loved Rachel more. Rachel couldn't have children. Leah had a whole bunch of children at this point. She had 4. And Rachel
told Jacob to sleep with her servant Bilhah and so that she could have a child.
And so she could raise a child.
So she could feel, like, vindicated. That's the whole point. So Bilhah gave birth to a boy that Rachel named Dan, which means vindicated. And the servant gave birth to another boy named Naphtali, meaning my struggle. So, yeah. Bilhah had 2 kids for Rachel.
And at this point, Jacob now has 3 wives. You're going to want to keep count. Okay. So,
once Bilhah stopped having children,
Rachel told Jacob to marry another one of her servants, which is
Zilpah.
And
it sounded like you said sofa.
So, Zilpah. Okay. And they had...
Zilpah gave Jacob more children. Gad and Asher. Yeah.
So he now has 4 wives. And this is kind of very repetitive. Rachel kept marrying off her servants to Jacob.
Yeah.
So she could have more kids.
Yeah, Leah and Rachel have a fight. Okay, so this is, like, really weird. So Leah and Rachel have another fight, and Leah's like, you've stolen my husband from me. Give him back. I need my husband back, or whatever.
You keep marrying him off to all your servants.
And so, because, like, at this point, he probably doesn't spend a lot of time with Leah. He's spending his time with Rachel and her servants. And so, deals were made. That means, Rachel's like, is this?
So,
yes.
Rachel let Jacob spend the night with Leah.
In return for her oldest son Reuben, he had found mandrake, I think, mandrake, and she said, "Give me some of your mandrake in return for sleeping with my husband." so that was the deal that was made, and so Jacob got his time with Leah, and whoop-de-doo, she got pregnant with her fifth son. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Choice of words.
Well, yeah, Issachar. Okay, she bore him a fifth son, Issachar, and that means reward. And then a sixth son, then a daughter, Dinah. I don't know the name of the sixth son because it's not written down on this piece of paper.
But
whatever. Okay, also, out of all these people, they only had one daughter. One.
I think overall Jacob ends up having 2 daughters.
Does he?
I think.
Oh.
I think it's
So
only
I
2
thought
daughters and the rest are sons. And,
in the whole genealogy of the Bible so far, there's like no girls. It's mostly boys.
yeah, everybody's
Isaac-
like giving birth.
Jacob and Esau. We also don't know if they had siblings, really. I know that Isaac was the only child.
Or
except
like
for his
they
brother, Ishmael.
So he wasn't an only child.
Huh?
So he wasn't an only child.
Half-brother Ishmael.
Half brother. Well, in this,
Everyone's half-siblings in this book.
basically,
Are you kidding, Shane?
well, hopefully that doesn't pick up too much. Anyway, where are we now?
Okay. Jacob... Okay, so then... Okay, here's the good part. Rachel is finally blessed to conceive and gave birth to, lo and behold, Joseph. Yay! You will learn about Joseph later.
We're gonna have a whole other series on Joseph.
Yeah.
He's gonna have his own
own thing.
his own little mini series. The story of Joseph is wild. But anyway, so Rachel gives birth to Joseph. Don't mind the leaf blower.
Hold back.
So now Jacob has increased his flock and puts focus into that.
So, there was a deal made between Laban and Jacob about, like, their flocks. It was like, I'll keep this part of the flocks if they're speckled or whatever, and then you keep, like, this one or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, they both had flourishing flocks, but Jacob's was flourishing a little bit more because he was blessed by God with his flock.
Mm-hmm. So now, Jacob notices, Jacob hears Laban's sons were saying, this is a quote, chapter 31, verse 1. Jacob has taken everything our father owned, and has gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father. So Jacob heard Laban's sons talking about this, and Laban's attitude started to change towards Jacob, and not for the better.
Yeah, he was quite enthralled with Jacob. He was his son, so he loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd been a part of his family for 20 years at this point. So, that's a long time.
That
It's
is
14 years for his 2 wives,
Mhm.
and then the 6 years for the flocks, which I don't know if we have written down, but that is a number. I remember reading that. But yeah.
Yeah, so Laban's attitude started to change towards Jacob. And Jacob went to Rachel and Leah, his first 2 wives, and told them that God told him in a dream that Laban wasn't being good to Jacob, and he basically had to go back to Canaan.
Yeah, so he, in the middle of the night, sneakily took them away and took them to Canaan. You said you wanted to read this as we don't have a Bible.
So basically,
Hold on, we've got a Bible right here.
that we're gonna read Leah and Rachel's responses to Jacob wanting to leave their father's land. That's gonna be verses 14 to 16 in chapter 31 of Genesis.
Yeah, 14. What? Okay. I don't know if this is the RSV version, so I'm not sure if it's going to be the same. Okay. Then Rachel and Leah answered him, "Is there any portion or inheritance left to us in our father's house? Are we not regarded to him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and he has been using up the money given for us. All the property which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, whatever God has to say, you do."
Yeah, so Rachel and Leah supported him in his decision because they're like, well, if God tells you you need to leave, then you should leave.
Yeah. And so he leaves, and he leaves secretly. No one knows that he's left until someone reports to Laban that Jacob has left. And this is like 3 days after they left. And so Jacob has set up camp by now. They have gotten quite a bit away, and Laban starts going after him. And I think it takes 7 days to get up to him. I remember reading 7.
Yeah.
And so Laban sets up camp beside Jacob to confront him. And he asks Jacob why he left in secret, saying, why did you desert me? Why did you leave me? If you had just asked me if you could leave, I would have let you leave with parties and like extravagant things, and saying like, I would have preferred you told me you wanted to leave instead of just leaving in secret.
Yeah.
And that like they had like a fight kind of thing, but it was resolved pretty quickly, honestly. And then another conflict arises, which I don't know if you mentioned. I don't know where it happens. But Leah took the house gods. Not Leah, Rachel. Sorry. Rachel took Laban's house gods.
Which Laban didn't worship God. He worshipped a bunch of tiny idols.
And so when because he got a message from God saying, don't say anything to Jacob, good or bad. From God. And so it's a little confusing because he heard something from God, yet he worships idols. Anyways, so he is asking, hey, who took my house gods? They're gone. I don't know where they went. And Jacob's like, we don't have them. Freely search our tents because we don't have them.
Yeah.
And since Rachel had taken them, Jacob didn't know. And so, this is so funny. She took the idols and put them in her camel sack and sat on it so that he wouldn't look there. Okay, but there's another reason. So he went and searched through all the tents, didn't find it in Jacob's, Leah's, any of the servants. He didn't find it anywhere. He got to Rachel's tent. He looked through hers. She was clean. And then when he came to camel, she's like, Father, I cannot get up because I am on my period. And so, and so he did not find his idols, and Rachel kept them. And never know what actually happens to those idols after that. Because
it doesn't say. Rachel did whatever she wanted with them.
Anyways, once Laban has let go of the house idols thing, he and Jacob decide to make a covenant between each other that they will not harm each other. They will not cross onto each other's land in the way to harm. Oh, I can't speak. And so they made a altar, and they made a sacrifice to it, and then they had a little going away party that and then so they all had food and they had a party and whatever, and then Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and went home. And that's all we have for notes today.
And that's where we're going to end.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed this story. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to close in prayer? Or do you want me
No, I think I did that Did I do that last week?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I prayed before. You can pray this time.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything you've blessed us with. You've given us the opportunity to share your word so easily, and we can reach people anywhere. And we pray that all of our viewers and listeners, that they would understand your word, Lord, and we would encourage them to read their Bibles and not take our word for it, but do research themselves, and to not be afraid to evangelize. Okay. Amen.
Amen.
So, that was the story of Jacob.
And that's chapters 29 to 31. It's a little bit of a shorter chunk, but there was a lot that happened in each of them. So
Yeah, so we're going to split it up in two. And our social medias. We have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook,
YouTube.
If
you're watching us, go check us out on Spotify or Buzzsprouts, because our views are kind of low down there. If you're on Buzzsprouts or Spotify, check us out on YouTube and subscribe, because we've got like 18 subscribers.
I think you're being generous.
No, I think we have 18 now. We might have 17. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Anyways, check us out on whatever. We're under Pure Conversations everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. Except on Twitter, where we're Pure Convos, because our name was too long.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Also, we haven't posted on Twitter in a while, so
we only have one post.
We should make a...
Or two.
Yeah. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day and enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye, peers!